Today I want to speak about a topic that has profound significance, not only in our individual lives, but in shaping our society. Our topic is about moving from sympathy to empathy, and I think it's one of the most important steps we can take to create a world rooted in understanding, compassion, and genuine human connection. Sympathy and empathy are terms we hear frequently, but it's essential to understand that they signify very different approaches to how we relate to the emotions and experiences of others. When we examine this transition closely, we see that empathy has the potential to foster a deep and healing connection with others, a connection that sympathy alone cannot fully achieve. Sympathy is a natural human response when we see someone else going through a hardship or challenging time. Sympathy is rooted in kindness and care, and it is often expressed with words or gestures that show we are concerned or feeling sorry for what the other person is enduring. Imagine a friend telling you about a recent setback or loss, and in response you say, "I'm so sorry that you're going through this," or "That must be really tough for you." These words of sympathy acknowledge the other person's pain and can bring some comfort, because they show we are aware of what they're experiencing. But sympathy, as kind and well-intentioned as it is, keeps us at a certain distance. In a way, sympathy is like standing on the shore, watching someone else struggle in the waves. You recognize that they are dealing with something difficult, you offer your kind words, but you remain on solid ground, observing their struggle from a safe place. While sympathy has a valuable role, empathy takes us to a deeper level. Empathy asks us to step off the shore and into the water with the other person so that we can share in, rather than simply acknowledge what they are feeling. Empathy is not just about understanding that someone is suffering. It is about allowing ourselves to feel what they feel, to imagine ourselves in their place, and to connect with their emotions as if they were our own. Instead of saying, "I feel for you," empathy allows us to say, "I feel with you." It requires a kind of emotional courage, because we are not simply offering words from a distance. We are immersing ourselves in another's reality, connecting on a level that allows us to truly understand and support them. Why then is empathy more powerful than sympathy? At a fundamental level, empathy is what enables us to connect with others in a deeply human way. Science supports this idea, with research in psychology and neuroscience is revealing that empathy activates specific areas in our brains called mirror neurons. These mirror neurons are the parts of our brain that allow us to physically and emotionally resonate with the experiences of others. When we watch someone experiencing joy, sadness, pain, or excitement, these neurons help us to mirror those feelings within ourselves. In this way, empathy is not just a feeling or a choice. It is a biological response that helps us build meaningful connections. When we empathize, we create a shared emotional experience, and this shared experience is powerful. It reassures the other person that they are not alone in their feelings, that someone else truly understands, even if only for a moment. Empathy has the potential to comfort, heal, and uplift, because it meets us exactly where we are, without judgment or pity. This is the magic of empathy. It creates a bond that transcends words, offering a kind of support that is both profound and transformative. But how do we actually make this shift from sympathy to empathy? This is not always easy, because empathy requires a willingness to be vulnerable and a dedication to understanding other levels of those beyond surface interactions. Many of us are conditioned to respond with sympathy when we hear someone is in pain or struggling, because sympathy is more comfortable. It does not require us to step too far outside of ourselves or confront uncomfortable emotions. Yet empathy is worth pursuing, because it allows us to bridge the emotional gap that often exists between people, creating relationships that are more authentic, understanding, and resilient. The first step in making this shift from sympathy to empathy is learning to practice active listening. Often, when someone is sharing a difficult experience with us, we might listen only half-heartedly, already formulating our response or thinking about advice to offer. But active listening means giving the other person our full attention without distractions or interruptions. It means putting aside our own thoughts, worries, and judgments to create a space where the other person feels heard. Active listening is not just about hearing the words they say, it's about tuning into the emotions behind those words, picking up on their tone, their body language, and sometimes even their silences. When we listen in this way, we move from observing their experience to truly feeling it alongside them. Active listening lays the foundation for empathy because it shows that we value their emotions, that we are fully present with them, and that we are willing to meet them where they are without trying to rush to a solution or response. Empathy also requires us to ask open-ended questions that encourage the other person to share more deeply. In sympathetic responses, we might say, "That sounds hard," or "I'm sorry that happened." These statements can provide comfort, but they do not invite a deeper understanding of the other person's feelings. When we ask questions like, "How did that make you feel?" or "What has this experience been like for you?" we open the door for them to share more openly and in their own words. Open-ended questions show that we are not assuming we already understand, but that we genuinely want to learn about their unique experience. These questions give them the space to articulate their emotions, and this act of sharing can be both empowering and healing for them. By creating this space, we move from merely acknowledging their feelings to actively engaging with them, creating a shared experience that deepens our connection. One of the most challenging yet essential aspects of empathy is resisting the urge to fix or compare. Many of us are inclined to offer solutions when we see someone in distress because we want to help them feel better. We may also try to draw comparisons with our own experiences to relate to them. However, empathy is not about fixing someone else's problems or minimizing their feelings through comparison. True empathy is about presence. It's about saying, "I am here with you in this moment," without trying to change it or make it easier. Fixing or comparing can inadvertently minimize the other person's experience. Instead, we can say things like, "It sounds like this is really weighing on you," or "That must feel so overwhelming." These statements validate their emotions without judgment or the need for solutions. By simply acknowledging their pain or frustration, we show that we are willing to sit with them in their feelings, offering our presence and understanding rather than quick answers or reassurances. Empathy also involves the ability to imagine what someone else might be feeling, even if we haven't been in their exact situation. This doesn't mean assuming that we know exactly what they're going through, but it does mean tapping into our own experiences of similar emotions. For example, if a friend is dealing with loss, we can remember a time when we felt sadness or grief. While our experiences are different, the emotions may be similar, and by connecting with our own feelings, we can better understand theirs. This kind of imaginative empathy allows us to bridge the gap between our experiences and theirs, offering a deeper level of understanding. Even if our lives and situations differ, we can connect on the level of shared human emotion. Non-verbal communication is another powerful tool in empathy. Sometimes the way we position our body, our facial expressions, or even a gentle touch can convey empathy more profoundly than words ever could. When we maintain eye contact, nod in understanding, or offer a comforting hand, we signal that we are fully present. Our body language can reflect our openness, our attention, and our willingness to sit with them in whatever they're going through. This kind of non-verbal empathy can be incredibly powerful, especially in moments when words might fall short. Our physical presence becomes a source of comfort and connection, showing that we are not just physically with them, but emotionally attuned to their needs. Reflecting and validating someone's emotions is another essential element of empathy. Reflecting involves repeating or summarizing what the other person has shared in a way that shows we are fully absorbing their experience. For example, we might say, "It sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed right now," or "I can see that this is really important to you." By reflecting their emotions back to them, we show that we are not only listening, but truly understanding and resonating with what they're going through. Validation is a powerful form of empathy because it acknowledges their experience without questioning or diminishing it. In a world where people often feel misunderstood or pressured to move on from difficult emotions, Validation is a reminder that their feelings are real and that they deserve to be seen and acknowledged. Cultivating empathy also requires us to be aware of our own biases, judgments, and preconceptions. Often we approach others with ideas about how they should feel or what they should be. These assumptions can cloud our ability to fully empathize because they create barriers to understanding. Practicing self-awareness helps us recognize when we are bringing our own judgments into a situation, allowing us to let go of those thoughts and focus on the other person's unique perspective. Self-awareness is a cornerstone of empathy because it enables us to approach others with an open heart and an open mind, ready to meet them on their terms rather than imposing our own. Empathy has the power to transform not only individual relationships but entire communities. Studies show that people who practice empathy are more resilient, have stronger connections, and experience greater mental well-being. When we move from sympathy to empathy, we don't just offer temporary comfort. We create bonds that can withstand the challenges of life. Empathy is the difference between saying, I am here for you and I am here with you. This small shift, though subtle, is incredibly powerful. It's the difference between observing someone's pain and truly sharing it, between standing on the sidelines and stepping into their world to experience their reality alongside them. When we empathize, we're not just supporting someone from a safe distance, we're entering into their experience, walking beside them through whatever they're facing, and allowing ourselves to feel vulnerable in that shared space. Imagine a world where empathy was the norm rather than the exception. Our workplaces, schools, homes, and communities would transform. Conflict will be approached with understanding rather than judgment. Disagreements would lead to growth rather than division. When people feel truly understood, they feel valued and respected, which fosters a sense of belonging and acceptance. Empathy can prevent misunderstandings, reduce prejudice, and create stronger bonds within families. Imagine if leaders approach their decisions with empathy, considering the impact on every individual, every community, and every life touched by their choices. Imagine relationships where partners, friends, and family members actively sought to understand each other's experiences, making every interaction an opportunity for deeper connection. This is the world empathy can create. However, developing empathy requires commitment. It's a practice that we must consciously cultivate day by day in our interactions and our reflections. Empathy is not something we perfect overnight. It's something we work at continually, deepening our ability to connect with others as we become more attuned to our own emotional landscape and the needs of those around us. The journey toward empathy begins with small steps, learning to listen more attentively, practicing patience, holding back on offering solutions, and truly opening ourselves to the experiences of others. Over time, these practices reshape our mindset and help us become more compassionate, understanding, and supportive. In our everyday lives, there are countless opportunities to practice empathy. It might be listening to a friend who's having a tough day, understanding a co-worker's frustration, or even empathizing with a stranger with a totally challenging moment. Each of these encounters is a chance to step outside of ourselves and enter someone else's world, even if just briefly. Each act of empathy builds upon the last, creating a ripple effect that can extend far beyond our immediate circles. By choosing empathy, we contribute to a culture of compassion, creating environments where people feel safe to express their truths from judgment or misunderstanding. We create spaces where people can be vulnerable, knowing that they will be met with understanding rather than criticism. Empathy also allows us to better understand our own emotions. When we practice empathy toward others, we become more in tune with our own feelings, learning to recognize and articulate our emotions with greater clarity. This self-awareness enriches our personal growth and emotional health, giving us the tools to navigate life's challenges with resilience. In understanding others, we also gain insight into our own responses, fears, and hopes. Empathy teaches us that we are all connected in our shared humanity, each of us carrying joys, sorrows, dreams, and struggles. It reminds us that we are never truly alone, that there is always a potential for connection and support, no matter how isolated we may feel. In a world where many are struggling with isolation, misunderstanding, and division, empathy is more important than ever. The modern pace of life, coupled with technology and social media, often creates barriers that prevent us from truly seeing each other. Our interactions can become transactional, shallow, and even competitive. We scroll through others' lives without truly engaging with them, leaving little room for genuine connection. But empathy challenges us to go deeper, to look beyond the surface and to connect in ways that foster mutual understanding and respect. It's a reminder that behind every screen, every face, every story, there is a person with feelings, dreams, and fears just like our own. Empathy can also inspire us to act. When we feel a deep connection to someone's experience, we're more likely to extend kindness, support, and even advocacy. Think of the people who volunteer their time, donate to causes, or fight for justice. Many of them are motivated by empathy, a deep understanding of the suffering or inequality that others endure. Empathy doesn't just make us feel, it compels us to do something. It reminds us that our actions, no matter how small, have the power to ease someone else's burden, uplift their spirit, or improve their circumstances. Empathy is the foundation of compassion, inspiring us to create a world that values and cares for each individual. As we continue to practice empathy, we become part of something larger than ourselves. We begin to see that our capacity to understand others is a gift that contributes to the collective well-being of our communities and society. Through empathy, we become agents of positive change, fostering environments where people feel safe, valued, and supported. The impact of this shift from sympathy to empathy reaches far beyond individual relationships. It creates a ripple effect, inspiring others to approach their own interactions with greater compassion, understanding, and patience. In this way, empathy is not just a personal practice, but a societal force that has the potential to bring about real, lasting change. So as we go about our lives, let's challenge ourselves to make this shift from sympathy to empathy. Let's commit to truly listening, to opening our hearts, and to meeting others where they are without judgment or agenda. Let's remember that empathy is not about having all the answers or fixing every problem. It's about being present, understanding, and compassionate. In practicing empathy, we embrace our shared humanity, creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. We may not be able to eliminate all pain or solve every issue, but through empathy, we can create spaces where people feel less alone in their struggles and more connected in their joys. Empathy reminds us that we are all interconnected, that our joys and sorrows are shared, and that we have the power to make a difference in each other's lives. It calls us to go beyond ourselves, to let go of our judgments, and to enter into the lives of others with openness and understanding. It is a journey, a practice, and a way of life that enriches not only those we connect with, but also our own lives. In moving from sympathy to empathy, we become part of a larger movement toward compassion, kindness, and healing, a movement that can change our lives, our relationships, and our world. Thank you.